stones were piled becomes a church. Shalom. There will be we're going to have a special praise meeting starting this afternoon, and I hope this will be a festival for us. A revival meeting, yes. Today is the fourth session of Walking with God. Let's greet to each other. Let us walk with God. Who are the people in the Bible? There's something that appears in them in common. It is power. Most of the people in the Bible were not people with great talents. They were people with natures similar to us. And yet, power was revealed through them. What is the difference between talent and power? Talent is something you are born with, starting from yourself. But power goes beyond the talents you already have. When does power appear? It's when they walked with God. The power that went beyond their talents, beyond what they themselves possessed. That kind of power appeared in them. That is what the Bible testifies. They did not have the talent to overcome sin, yet they had the power to overcome sin. They did not have the talent to overcome failure, but the power to overcome failure came to them. They did not have the talent to overcome hardship, yet the power to overcome hardship appeared in them. The people in the Bible, for the most part, did not have great talents, yet they were called people of power. You don't have the power to overcome a failure, but I bless you that this kind of power would appear in your lives. You may not have the talent to overcome failure, but I pray that the power to overcome failure will rise up in you. But there is one thing we must understand. Let us not confuse feelings with walking together. Feelings with walking together. People may mistake it for feeling. Sometimes in a crowded store, awkward moments happen. Child gets distracted and then follows me, thinking I am his parent. The person walking next to him may have felt like it's their parent. He grabbed my hand. And so I said, I'm not your dad. It did happen once. The child finally looked at my face and started to cry. We must live not by our feeling. There are things that give us feeling. Sometimes misguided zeal can give us the greatest feeling. The zeal for God-given law gave people the greatest feeling. In today's scripture, the birthright of the firstborn was like that too. But these feelings, they can get shattered. When we meet the stone pillow, the feeling breaks. The Bible tells the story of a stone pillow. A cold stone pillow may symbolize failure or hardship. There is someone in his life who rested on his head on such a stone pillow. It was Jacob. In a field somewhere, he lay down to sleep using a stone as his pillow. Today's passage begins like this. Jacob left Beersheba and set out for Haran. One day, Jacob set out on the journey from Beersheba to Haran. One church father described his road like this: the road that contains his life. The road that contains Jacob's life. It is the road from Beersheba to Haran. To be more exact, it is the road of hardship, the dangerous road. From Beersheba to Haran is over 750 kilometers. It is not just a long road. He could meet robbers, battles could occur. The hostile tribes set up their camps along the way. It was a dangerous and a rugged road. A journey from Beersheba to Haran symbolically represents Jacob's entire life. Among the people in the Bible, there is no one who had a life journey as difficult and turbulent as Jacob's. The story of Jacob in his old age appears briefly in the Bible. It was time to bring his life to close. There, Jacob was no longer the main character. Now Joseph takes center stage. At the time, a famine struck and the land where Jacob lived. So eventually he moved to Egypt, where Joseph was. The Pharaoh personally met Jacob. When Pharaoh saw Jacob, he was surprised. Jacob looked very old. He thought it was remarkable, so he asked, "How old are you?" Jacob answered politely. In Genesis chapter 47, the years of my pilgrimage are 130. My years have been few and difficult, and they do not equal the years of the pilgrimage of my fathers. Jacob did not just answer with his age. Compared to my ancestors, my years are few. And he added that his life had been difficult. Compared to the other patriarchs, even though the number of years he had lived was fewer, the path he walked was far from easy. That path from Beersheba to Haran. Later, the year from Haran to Beersheba. He summed it up himself. His life had been difficult. The road itself was rugged. As I look at the biblical text, I find myself wondering about your journey, my life from Beersheba to Haran, long, weary, and rugged. Could it be that in your heart you are quietly saying something like that? I cannot let my guard down even for a moment. My rest is never complete. My hardship has not been resolved. In the fields, I rest my head on a stone pillow. This is my life. Among you, there may be some who, while walking the rugged journey of life in the wilderness, in the open fields, with nothing to rest on, have laid their head on a stone pillow, seeking rest. The clear truth is that what Jacob dreamed of was not that rugged journey. Who dreams that their life will be harsh and difficult? Who thinks my life will be full of struggle? Who would want to sleep with a stone for a pillow? What humans truly long for is a comfortable pillow. Perhaps this is why Jacob desired the birthright. Wasn't it ultimately for comfort, security, and pleasing and blessing? Jacob wanted to be blessed by God. This was his true heart. Such a heart is precious. In Israel, there was a blessing for the firstborn. It was a blessing meant only for the first son. Wouldn't it be nicer if the blessing could be shared more evenly? Blessed the first, blessed the second, sons, daughters. But in Israel, it did not work that way. Did you experience such discrimination. Mm. 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 Jacob wanted that blessing, but he was not supposed to have it. Jacob was the second son. He longed for that birthright. He felt desire. He coveted God's blessing. He wanted the birthright, so he was willing to deceive his father and even trick his father. So what happened in the next? The blessing meant for Esau, the firstborn. Jacob received it. How? He used his talent to the fullest. What was his talent? It was navigating between the unlawful and the lawful. It's hard to call Jacob a cheater, but also hard to say he was completely justified. He tricked his father. He pretended to be Esau and received the blessing of the birthright. On the surface, isn't it a fraud? But that's not all. He had already obtained the birthright from his brother for just a bowl of lentil stew. Legally, he had prepared all the loopholes. If this went to court, the judge would have had a hard time. It was the talent he used. Holding the birthright in his hands meant that God's blessing would come with it. This is probably Jacob's thinking. I mean his feeling. But did heaven come? Did heaven open? No, it did not. Far from heaven, he became a fugitive, forced to run away on a rugged road. We believe in God because we want to be blessed, because we want to live within God's amazing grace. We made a decision to believe, but for some people far from heaven, they find themselves on a harsh road, right there in the middle of it, on the road from Beersheba to Haran. Not Jacob, but our road. You may not have said it out loud, but in your heart you may have thought, the road is my road. He tricked his father and took the brother's birthright, but in reality Jacob gained nothing. Instead, he had to leave his hometown empty-handed, feeling. He had to run away. He had to flee from the place that he was most comfortable. He had to escape from the place that seemed most desirable, contrary to his hopes, in the open fields, completely unrelated to the birthright blessing he longed for. He was lying to get some rest. This is today's passage tells us. This 11th, verse 11, when he reached a certain place, he stopped for the night because the sun had set. Taking one of the stones there, put it under his head to lay down to sleep. What is the stone pillow Jacob had? The cold stone pillow is Jacob's reality. To Jacob, the stone pillow probably looked like a symbol of failure. I may have represented the hardship of life. It may have felt like the consequence of certain events. The important point is the stone pillow is Jacob's reality. This is the hardship you are resting on is your own stone pillow. Among you, there may be a stone pillow that most clearly awakens you to your present. An empty bank account could be a stone pillow. The work we're doing, when you rest your head on that stone pillow, you feel the reality of your life. Jacob's reality, at the very least, was desperate in three ways. First, there was regret and self-reproach for the past. Should I not have done that? This is regret. Why does the regret never end? Because you cannot go back. Because of that choice, because of that event, because of that result. Isn't that your stone pillow? The regret you carry along with your stone pillow was surely part of Jacob's hardship. The second source of Jacob's despair in his reality was uncertainty and anxiety about the future. Haran was a foreign land he had never been to earlier. Moreover, what would he encounter there, and how would he live? He had no idea, and it was deeply unsettling. What pushed Jacob into even greater despair was likely sleeping alone in the open fields. Could that reality of wanderer could hold any hope that things could change in Haran? The third source of Jacob's despair was likely the birthright itself. The blessing of the birthright from God includes the idea of territory. It means that God is present in that special land, but he left that land, the place where he rests his head on this stone pillow, is not the land of blessing. Which place do you think God is walking with you? Will God be with you on your stone pillow? Isn't it something you really want to avoid, but you could not? You had no other choice, so you rest on it. That is the stone pillow. Can you really imagine that God walks with you on that stone pillow? Something is unresolved, something has failed, it's a hardship, it's rugged. Those results are stone pillow. Jacob's hardship and despair was likely caused by the loneliness he felt in that place. God is not here. You wanted to be close with God, but the stone pillow, it's the stone. I have the stone pillow. But there's a but here. We must return not to Jacob's hardship and the stone pillow, but to God's perspective. God saw that Jacob wanted to live like his father. He wanted to live as a firstborn. God wanted to bless him, not to fill him as a vessel of a firstborn, but to fill the vessel that is Jacob. God did not care that Jacob was the second, or even third, fourth, or 10th. Even if you are the lowest in the lowest seat, God's heart is to pour blessing into your vessel. It is not about giving more to some and less to others. God's heart is to fill your vessel completely. So what did he do? He used a stone pillar on which Jacob had rested. Jacob had lived his whole life scheming, but God did not destroy that scheming. He just weakened it. So what kind of a place is where the stone pillow is? It is the place where Jacob's calculations collapsed, the place where Jacob's schemes didn't work, the place where Jacob's strength ran out. In the Bible, the wilderness appears in many places. God never hid the fact that he led his people into the wilderness. He made wilderness appear to bring them hardship. He made poor. He made them struggle. He made all their plans disappear. Why? Dear friends, the musical instrument must be weakened. The instrument must not play itself. The musician plays it. Jacob dreamed of a life that he would play himself. Wasn't that a birthright? He put all his strength into it, made plans, gathered people. God, his mother on his side, conspired. He thought, this is how God will walk with me. And that's why God had to empty him of that. The poor, the afflicted, the poor in spirit are blessed, the scripture says. When Jacob was emptied, when he became afflicted, when his vessel was broken, when he experienced hardship, then he saw something. He saw that God's plan for him was already full and overflowing. Verse 12, from verse 12 to 15. Verse 13. 14. Verse 15. After being emptied, after being collapsed, God's plan, he meets God's plan. God's plan is so meticulously detailed, to the west, to the east, to the north, to the south. God's plan is complete in every direction without leaving anything out. That was a plan of blessing. What Jacob saw in his dream at first was not those details of God's blessings. The dream was not about the contents of any blessing. The dream was, in fact, about something else. It was to show that God was with him. Jacob saw that, and verse 16. Jacob woke from his dream and said, "Surely the Lord is in this place. I did not know it." I did not know it. He was there. He was here. The most rugged place it was. Before he knew God. It's not because God is not there that I'm using the stone pillow. God was always there. Early in the morning, Jacob got up and took the stone he had used for a pillow and set it up as a pillar and worshiped God. The stone pillow is still a stone pillow, but now it becomes an altar for worship. The wilderness where he stayed, Luz, became Bethel. Ordinary land, it became the house of God. What is a church? It is the house of God. It is where God dwells. If you walk with God, that place you are at becomes a church. Even a stone pillow can become a church. Our church, Chongkyo Church, is a church where the confession that God was with us, it's the accumulation of all that confession. I hope that in midst of your hardship, a church will be established there. May it be a place where God's presence walks with you. I believe that your stone pillow will become an altar. It's a rugged life. We don't know where we're going, to east, west, south, or north. We all had passed the rugged road, and we all had the stone pillow. At the open field, Jacob's life was rugged, but God's presence walks with you. It became the place for God. The, when you walk with God, the place becomes precious. God let Jacob have a wonderful dream on the stone pillow at the open field. Do you have a stone pillow in your life? I pray that you will pile up the stone pillows of that place and make them into an altar of worship. What is the stone pillow that I have? Let's think about that. Whether we go to east or north, south, or wherever, God will be with us. In the year 2026, the place where we have the stone pillow, that place becoming precious. Spiritual teachers say that true spirituality is believing in the absolute goodness of God. Right now, we may find ourselves in a place different from what we expected, but we're holding on to the absolute goodness of God, our Father. What will happen? It will be from stone pillow to Bethel, to feeling, to walking with God, God walking together, from talent to a life of power. From from pillow to Bethel, from feeling to walking together, from talent, from stone pillow, from feelings, from talent. We move to Bethel, walking together, and live a life of power. I pray that you will pile up the stone pillows of that place and make them into an altar of worship. Let us greet one another. When we walk together, the place becomes precious.